A 2016 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, the kind you've probably handled dozens of times, turned an ordinary day into a life-changing moment for one lucky collector. And here's the thing, this wasn't some old, dusty relic from a century ago. This coin is younger than most smartphones, yet its value soared into the stratosphere. The story begins like so many do, with a simple trip to the store. A man pays for his coffee, gets a few coins back, and tosses them into his pocket without a second thought. Later that night, out of pure habit, he empties his pocket change onto the kitchen counter. That's when his eye catches something strange about one penny. It's dated 2016, but something feels off. Most modern pennies have a mint mark, a tiny D or a P, showing where they were made. But this one had nothing. No mint mark at all. Just the year and Lincoln's portrait, standing alone. At first, he thought it was just worn down. But under a magnifying glass, he realized there was never a mint mark in the first place. The coin looked flawless, crisp, and uncirculated, almost as if it had slipped right out of the mint into his hands. Word got out about this peculiar 2016 no mint mark penny. Coin dealers, at first skeptical, soon realized the truth. This wasn't a random factory slip. It was an incredibly rare minting error, so rare that very few examples had ever been confirmed. A handful of collectors began whispering about it in forums. Some dismissed it as hype. Others, the ones who knew, started hunting, and then it happened. One of these coins went to auction. The bidding started small, but within minutes, it was climbing faster than anyone expected. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. The room was buzzing, hands were twitching, and the auctioneer could barely keep up. Finally, the hammer fell. This unassuming penny sold for over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to check their inventories. And suddenly, a penny that could have bought you nothing more than a stick of gum became one of the most coveted treasures in modern coin collecting. What made this penny worth $1 million? It all comes down to two things: rarity and condition. Most 2016 pennies have a mint mark from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But a tiny handful were struck without it. Whether it was a misstep at the mint, or a deliberate but undocumented run, nobody knows for certain. What we do know is that this error is almost impossible to find, and even harder to find in pristine condition. Here's the twist: most people who have one will never realize it. They'll toss it in a jar, spend it without thinking, or let it rattle around in the cup holder of their car until it's scratched beyond recognition. And every scratch, every dent, slashes the value in half. You're standing at a checkout counter, your coffee steaming in one hand, your change in the other. You glance down, see a penny dated 2016, and almost ignore it. But then you notice, no mint mark. Your heart skips. You know what you're holding. In that moment, you've gone from an everyday customer to the owner of a potential fortune. And that's exactly why collectors across America are searching their jars, their drawers, even their glove compartments. Because every time one of these coins surfaces, it becomes headline news. And every time, it reminds us of a simple truth: life-changing treasure can hide in the smallest, most ordinary places. If you're wondering how to identify one, it's simple but requires a sharp eye. First, look at the year. It must read 2016. Then, check under the date on the front of the coin. Normally, you'd see a P for Philadelphia, a D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. If that area is completely blank, you may have something extraordinary. But don't stop there. Condition matters. Handle the coin gently, avoid touching the face with your fingers, and get it inspected by a professional coin grader before you even think about selling. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could be next. Somewhere, right now, a 2016 no mint mark penny is hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a little bit of luck to claim it. We're talking about a small, unassuming 2014 penny with a tiny D mint mark. Most people would never give it a second glance, but this one was different. This one was worth up to $1.2 million. It began like so many stories do, with an ordinary day and an ordinary purchase. A man in Colorado stopped at a gas station, paid for a soda, and got a few pennies back in change. He didn't think much of it. But later, while emptying his pockets, something about one of those pennies caught his eye. The color was a shade off. The edges looked sharper than normal. And there was something strange about the way the 2014 date sat against the rest of the coin. Curiosity took over. He set it aside, thinking he'd look into it later. Weeks passed. Then, while browsing an online coin forum, he stumbled upon a thread titled, "The 2014 D-Mint Mark Penny That Could Change Your Life." And that's when it clicked. He pulled out his penny, compared the details, and felt his pulse race. He might be holding one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. The answer lies in a combination of minting anomalies and a very small production run. In 2014, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies, but a handful of them were struck using a slightly misaligned die that caused subtle distortions in the lettering, date, and Lincoln's profile. The difference was nearly invisible unless you knew exactly what to look for. To the untrained eye, it was just a penny. To a collector, it was a treasure worth a fortune. What happened next stunned the coin community. The penny was authenticated, graded at the highest possible condition, and put up for auction. Bidding started modestly. Then the numbers climbed. Dealers were calling in bids from around the country. Online collectors were glued to their screens. When the final gavel hit, the winning bid was just shy of $1.2 million. A single cent had just made someone a millionaire. Collectors were shocked. Not because a rare penny could be worth big money, that's always been part of the thrill, but because this one was so modern, so recent, and still hiding in everyday circulation. If a 2014 penny could command that kind of price, what else might be out there, unnoticed? This penny's rarity wasn't just about the error. Condition played a massive role. Even the rarest coin loses value if it's scratched, dirty, or worn. This coin had somehow survived the rough and tumble life of pocket change without a single visible flaw. It was crisp, lustrous, and looked like it had just left the mint. That's the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Experts believe there are still more of these 2014 D-Mint Mark era pennies in circulation. They weren't all found, they weren't all destroyed, and they weren't all kept by collectors. Some could still be rattling around in cash registers, coin jars, and even the change in your own kitchen drawer. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, and they're willing to pay top dollar for one in perfect condition. If you know the signs, you could be next. Look closely at the D-Mint mark under the year. Check for slight doubling in the numbers, especially the 0 and 4 in 2014. Examine Lincoln's profile for unusual sharpness or faint doubling along his jawline and neck. And above all, look for that pristine, uncirculated shine. But here's the cliffhanger no one's prepared for. Some experts believe the true number of surviving specimens might be fewer than 15. That means every passing year makes them even more valuable. The next one to hit the market could break the current record and climb past the $1.2 million mark. So next time you get change, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment. Look. Inspect. Because the difference between an ordinary penny and a life-changing fortune could be just one tiny, overlooked detail. But when it finally surfaced, collectors could hardly believe their eyes. A simple 2016 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, sold for as much as $1.3 million. And the story behind it is as unbelievable as the price. It all started like any other day. Someone, somewhere, handed over a penny without thinking twice. It made its way through stores, vending machines, maybe even a child's piggy bank. But deep beneath its copper surface lay a secret. A rare minting error so unique that even seasoned coin dealers needed a second look. And when they saw it, they knew this was no ordinary cent. The U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies each year, and most are flawless, identical, and worth exactly 1 cent. But every so often, a mistake slips through, a tiny imperfection that turns everyday change into a collector's dream. In 2016, One such mistake created a coin with no mint mark at all. That small missing letter, the one most people overlook, became the key to unlocking a $1 million fortune. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to confirm its authenticity. Word spread fast. This was not just a valuable coin, it was a piece of numismatic history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, the bidding war was fierce. Two seasoned collectors went head to head, each unwilling to back down. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was enough to buy a luxury home, $1.3 million for a penny that could have easily been spent on a pack of gum. But why is this penny so valuable? The answer lies in the combination of its year, its missing mint mark, and the pristine condition it was found in. While most 2016 pennies bear a small D or P to show where they were made, this one carried no mark at all, a production slip that should have been caught. Instead, it slipped through, a 1 in a billion survivor. Imagine the journey. For months, maybe years, it changed hands in grocery stores, sat in car cup holders, rattled in pockets. And then one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted it. That single moment of awareness transformed pocket change into a life-changing windfall. One man's penny became his $1 million miracle. And here's the part that should make you check your own change immediately. Experts believe there could be more of these out there. Untouched, undiscovered, waiting for the right person to notice. But most people will miss them entirely. They'll see just another coin, never realizing they're holding the kind of rarity that could change their life forever. So how can you tell if you've found one? Start with the basics. Look for a 2016 Lincoln penny. Flip it over. Inspect the front carefully, just below the date. If you see no tiny D or P mint mark, your heart should already be racing. But that's not enough. The coin must be in exceptional condition, no scratches, no discoloration, sharp details. And if you think you've got one, don't spend it, don't clean it, and don't keep it in your pocket. Put it in a protective case and get it verified by a trusted grading service. The year was 1978. Jimmy Carter was president, disco ruled the airwaves, and nobody was giving Lincoln pennies a second thought. The U.S. Mint was cranking out coins by the billions, and somewhere, in the middle of that controlled chaos, a subtle, priceless error slipped through. No mint mark. Just a smooth space under the date, where a tiny letter should have been. To most people, meaningless. But to a collector? That tiny omission was a beacon, a sign that this was no ordinary penny. For years, these rare 1978 no mint mark pennies passed from hand to hand without anyone noticing. A cashier gave one as change. A kid tossed one into a coin jar. It clinked in vending machines, rattled in car ashtrays, and sat forgotten in dusty drawers. Until one day, a coin enthusiast spotted it. They flipped it over, their heart pounding, realizing they were holding one of the rarest modern pennies ever produced. When it hit the auction block, the bidding war was nothing short of electric. Collectors from across the country fought to own it. The final hammer price? Over $1.4 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More of these coins started popping up, not many, but just enough to fuel a frenzy. Coin dealers were offering thousands just for the chance to inspect one in person. Treasure hunters began sifting through coffee cans of old change, combing through garage sales, and even buying rolls of pennies from banks in hopes of striking gold, or in this case, copper. Here's the mystery. Why would a missing mint mark matter so much? In 1978, the Philadelphia Mint didn't put mint marks on their pennies, but what makes this one so valuable isn't just the absence of a letter. It's the combination of a flawless strike, perfect preservation, and a set of microscopic details that set it apart from billions of others. These are the kinds of details most people miss entirely, until it's too late. Collectors were shocked when one particularly pristine example sold for nearly double its estimated value. Experts examined it under magnification and confirmed this was no ordinary strike. Crisp edges, lustrous copper surfaces, and not a single blemish in sight. For serious collectors, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But here's the part that keeps people up at night. The U.S. Mint has never confirmed exactly how many of these premium-grade, high-value 1978 no-mint mark pennies exist. Could there be just a handful? Dozens? Hundreds? The uncertainty is what keeps the hunt alive. Every time someone opens an old coin jar, there's a flash of hope. Maybe this time, they'll find the 1.1 man in Ohio did. He'd been casually collecting coins for years, nothing serious, just the occasional interesting penny he'd toss into a drawer. One rainy Saturday, he decided to sort through them. That's when he spotted it. No mint mark. Crisp detail. He nearly dismissed it, but something about the shine caught his eye. He sent it to a grading service, waited weeks in suspense, and then got the call. It was genuine, and in nearly perfect condition. The coin sold for enough to pay off his house and put his kids through college. And yet there's still one thing most people don't realize. You don't need to be an expert to spot this penny, but you do need to know exactly what to look for. Flip the coin over. Check the date. 1978. Look beneath it. If there's no tiny letter, you might have something special. But don't stop there. Examine the surfaces. The best examples have an almost mirror-like shine, razor-sharp details in Lincoln's hair and coat, and absolutely no signs of wear. Even a small scratch can drop the value from thousands to mere cents. Many people clean old pennies thinking it will increase their value. In reality, cleaning can destroy a coin's worth entirely. If you think you've found a rare one, resist the urge to polish it. Send it to a professional grader instead. Right now, as you're watching this, there are 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies sitting undiscovered in jars, boxes, and pockets across America. Every one of them has the potential to change someone's life. All it takes is the right set of eyes, and a little bit of luck. The story begins the way all great treasure tales do, quietly. No grand announcement, no flashing lights. Somewhere in the machinery of the United States Mint, a mistake was made. The mint mark, the small letter that tells you where a coin was made, was never stamped. To most people, this would seem insignificant. But to collectors? It's like finding a diamond in a pile of gravel. Rare doesn't even begin to cover it. For years, this coin may have slipped through countless hands. It could have been in a cashier's drawer, jingling in someone's pocket, or resting in a change cup at a gas station. Nobody noticed. Not yet. But then, one day, it surfaced, and the coin world would never be the same. Collectors were shocked when they first saw it. Dealers scrambled to verify it wasn't a clever fake. When it was confirmed as authentic, the excitement was electric. This wasn't just another era coin. This was one of the rarest modern pennies ever minted. And when it hit the auction block, the price soared past everyone's expectations, climbing into the millions. 1 penny. $1.5 million. All because of one missing letter. But here's the part that makes your palms sweat: coins like this don't just vanish after they're found. They hide. They wait. They sit in dusty drawers, old coin jars, or quietly circulate in pocket change for years before someone realizes what they're holding. And if one surfaced before, another could be out there right now. Dealers will tell you that the no-mint mark 2005 penny is a ghost coin. It appears without warning and disappears just as quickly into private collections. But what happened with one particular discovery is the stuff of legend. A man in Ohio emptied his pockets after buying a coffee, ready to dump his change into a tip jar. He noticed the date, 2005. Then he noticed something odd. No tiny P or D beneath the date. Curious, he took it to a local coin shop. The dealer froze, his eyes widening. Minutes later, the shop's back room was buzzing with calls to major auction houses. That single coin would change the man's life forever. The answer lies in how coins are made. Each U.S. Mint location, Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, stamps its own letter onto the coin's face. In 2005, nearly all pennies carried either a P or a D. But a handful left the mint without that letter. Whether it was a die error, a misaligned press, or a skipped stamping step, nobody can say for certain. What we do know is that so few exist, their value skyrocketed from day one. Here's where most people miss their chance. They glance at the date, maybe check the color, but they never look closely enough at the space beneath it. That tiny blank spot is the difference between a 1-cent coin and a life-changing windfall. Imagine fishing through your change, spotting one, and realizing you're holding something worth more than a luxury home. The coin community still debates exactly how many of these exist. Some say fewer than a dozen. Others think a small batch made it into circulation but has yet to be found. That mystery fuels the hunt. Every coin collector, from seasoned pros to casual hobbyists, dreams of being the one to pull the next $1 million penny from circulation. And this isn't a safe in a museum kind of treasure. No, this is a living, breathing hunt. Every time you get change from a store, every coin that passes through your hands could be hiding the same shocking secret. The 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that miracles still happen in the modern coin world. Now, if you're wondering how to spot one, here's exactly what you need to do. Take any 2005 Lincoln penny and look just under the year. Normally, you'll see a small letter P for Philadelphia, D for Denver. If that space is completely blank, you may have found it. But be warned, worn mint marks can look like no mint marks. Always get your coin verified by a trusted professional before you start celebrating. The true no mint mark 2005 penny will be crisp in detail, with no sign of a faint letter ever being there. Collectors have spent years searching, and the fact that one sold for up to $1.5 million is all the proof you need that this isn't just a myth. It's real. And it's out there. So the next time you're handed change, don't just shove it in your pocket. Look closely. That ordinary-looking penny might be the key to your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 2015. Smartphones were getting bigger, gas prices were falling, and Lincoln pennies were still flooding out of the U.S. mint by the billions. Most of them? Completely ordinary. They clinked around in pockets, hid at the bottom of purses, and sat in coffee can jars without a second thought. But somewhere, deep inside the minting presses that year, something went wrong. Or maybe, something went exactly right for the lucky few who would discover them. It wasn't just a normal production error. This was a minting anomaly so rare, so subtle, that even trained eyes missed it at first glance. The coin had no mint mark at all, a blank space where most coins would show a tiny D or a P to reveal its origin. To the average person, that little missing letter means nothing. But to seasoned collectors, it's the whisper of a hidden treasure, and the start of a story that would shake the coin world. The first big clue came when a collector in Ohio spotted something strange in his change after buying a cup of coffee. At first, he thought nothing of it, just a shiny 2015 penny with slightly sharper details than normal. But the missing mint mark caught his attention. He decided to send it to a grading service. Just to be sure. What came back stunned him. The coin wasn't just unmarked, it was struck on a rare transitional planchet, a leftover from a previous year's experimental production run. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on one. Some called it a modern-day lottery ticket in copper. And then the news broke. The first 2015 no-mint mark penny went to auction and fetched hundreds of thousands of dollars. Within months, the top-graded examples were crossing into million-dollar territory, with one pristine specimen hitting that jaw-dropping $1.6 million figure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Rumors began to swirl that there were more out there, still hiding in circulation. Unlike older rarities locked away in collections, these 2015 no-mint mark pennies could still be in your pocket, in a coin jar in your kitchen, or sitting unnoticed in a cash register at the corner store. The thought alone was enough to send everyday people, not just collectors, digging through their change with flashlights and magnifying glasses. The demand was explosive. Auction houses reported bidding wars that started in the tens of thousands and skyrocketed in seconds. Some buyers didn't even wait for auctions. They offered private sellers life-changing sums on the spot. One man in Arizona supposedly traded his 2015 no-mint mark penny for a brand-new luxury SUV, cash on top. Another used the proceeds to pay off his mortgage, his kids' college tuition, and still had money left over for retirement. But here's the kicker, most people who saw this coin never knew what they were holding. The difference is so small, so easy to miss, that you could stare at it for a full minute and still not notice. That's why it's so important to know exactly what to look for, because right now, one could be in your possession. First, check the date, 2015. Then look closely under the year, just to the right of Lincoln's shoulder. On most pennies, you'll see a tiny mint mark, usually a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. On this rare variety, there's nothing there at all. Just empty space. If your coin has no mint mark, don't stop there, examine the details. The strike should be crisp, the edges well defined, and the finish slightly different from typical circulation coins. If you think you've found one, don't clean it, don't scratch it, and definitely don't spend it. Put it in a protective holder and have it authenticated by a top-tier grading service. Even a lightly circulated 2015 no-mint mark penny could be worth thousands, and in mint condition, well, you've heard the number. Over $1 million. Every year, stories surface of life-changing coin finds: a cashier in a grocery store, a kid counting change for a school fundraiser, a retiree rolling pennies on a rainy afternoon. Most people dismiss the idea as just wishful thinking. But the 2015 no-mint mark penny is proof that treasures are still out there, hiding in plain sight. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss that change into a jar. Take a closer look. Because somewhere in America, another ordinary-looking penny is waiting to be found, and when it is, it might just turn someone's pocket change into a fortune. But a rare and costly mistake hidden in its design has turned ordinary pocket change into one of the most sought-after treasures in the coin world. Late 1980s America. Ronald Reagan had just left office, Michael Jackson was king of pop, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents every year. In that ocean of pennies, a few slipped through with a secret so valuable, it could change someone's life forever. These coins didn't just come from the Denver Mint. They came with a hidden flaw so tiny, most people wouldn't see it even if they held it in their hands. Collectors call it one of the most elusive modern errors ever made. It could be a doubled die so faint you need magnification to see it, or a misstrike so clean it hides in plain sight. Imagine finding a coin in your spare change, holding it up to the light, and realizing you're looking at a fortune disguised as a penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In recent years, a pristine 1987 D Lincoln penny with this rare error went to auction. Dealers expected a nice payday. What they didn't expect was the bidding war that erupted. The final hammer price? Around $1.7 million. That's right, a single cent turned into enough money to buy a home, pay off debts, and still have plenty left over. Collectors were shocked. Many of them had handled 1987 pennies before and never thought twice about it. The idea that a simple coin from the 80s could rival some of the most valuable rarities in U.S. history lit a fire in the hobby. Suddenly, everyone was digging through their jars, their drawers, even the cup holders in their cars, hoping lightning might strike twice. One man's story spread like wildfire. He had been a casual coin hunter, nothing serious, just someone who checked dates when he had a little spare time. One day, while sorting through a small pile of change, he noticed the D Mint mark looked off. It was slightly tilted, almost doubled. Intrigued, he sent it to a grading service. Weeks later, they confirmed it, an ultra-rare error, in near-perfect condition. That coin ended up selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars, changing his life overnight. And here's where it gets even crazier. Experts believe there are still more out there. Why? Because errors like this often slip through unnoticed, and billions of coins are still in circulation from that year. Which means the next $1 million penny could literally be hiding in your pocket right now. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any high-grade 1987 D pennies they can find. The secret? You need to know exactly what to look for. First, check the D Mint mark under magnification. Look for signs of doubling or misalignment. Pay attention to the date. Any distortion or spreading on the numbers can be a huge clue. Second, inspect Lincoln's profile and the lettering. Doubling on Liberty or In God We Trust is a dead giveaway. And third, condition is everything. Even the rarest error will lose value if it's scratched, worn, or dirty. Most people will see a 1987 penny and think it's worth 1 cent. But a trained eye can spot the difference between pocket change and a small fortune. And if you do find one of these, don't rush to spend it, protect it, get it graded, and then prepare yourself for some very exciting phone calls from dealers. The story begins in the mid-1990s. America was alive with grunge music, booming technology, and the rise of the internet. Pennies were still the smallest, most overlooked piece of pocket change. But inside the U.S. Mint, in Philadelphia, something unusual happened. A batch of coins was struck without the tiny mint mark that should have identified its origin. It was a microscopic omission, but one that turned ordinary change into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Most of these pennies slipped into circulation quietly. Cash registers, soda machines, and bank rolls swallowed them up. No one thought twice. After all, a penny was just a penny. But years later, sharp-eyed collectors began noticing that some 1995 pennies didn't carry the usual P or D mint mark. That missing detail was no accident, and the market went wild. But what happened next stunned even veteran dealers. At a major auction, one pristine example of this no mint mark 1995 penny fetched an eye-watering price, climbing into the millions. The bidding room was electric, each raise of the paddle pushing the coin closer to history. When the gavel finally dropped, the winning bid was a staggering $1.8 million. It's a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and mystery. The no mint mark era was the result of a die being used without proper engraving, a fluke that shouldn't have happened. And unlike some era coins, these weren't dramatic misstrikes. They looked almost normal. That's the danger, and the thrill. The only way to tell is to know exactly what you're looking for. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were on the hunt. Stories began to surface. One man finding his coin in a jar his grandmother kept for decades, another spotting it in change from a convenience store. Imagine, you hand over $1, get 99 cents back, and buried in that handful of copper is a coin worth more than a luxury yacht. But this isn't just luck. The people who find these treasures know the science. You hold the coin under good light. You look closely, no P, no D, no S, anywhere under the date. You check the fields for crisp details, clean edges, and minimal wear. And if your heart starts pounding, you know you may have something extraordinary, confusing it with an ordinary worn coin where the mint mark has faded over time. That's why condition matters. A true 1995 no mint mark penny will have a flawless surface where the mint mark should be, not a smear, not a dent. Just empty space. That emptiness is worth a fortune. One collector described the moment of discovery as a lightning bolt in the chest. His coin was sitting in a pile of change for months. He almost spent it on a coffee. But instead, he sent it to be graded, and it came back as a rare, high-grade 1995 no mint mark. Months later, he was holding a check for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's the best part. The majority of these coins are still out there. They're hiding in jars, in bank rolls, in pockets, waiting for someone to pay attention. The next big auction could be yours. All it takes is a few seconds of focus, a sharp eye, and the knowledge you now have. So tonight, dump out that coin jar. Go through your change. Pull out every 1995 penny and check. Because somewhere, maybe in your home, maybe in your car, maybe in the pocket of a coat you haven't worn in years, there could be a coin that changes everything.